Hello again. It is always pleasant to discover that there are people in the wider world beyond one's family and friends who value what one says. It is also oddly satisfying to find that somebody has been rendered so incandescent with rage at the views which one holds that he has gone to the trouble of launching his own YouTube channel with the express aim of denouncing me and all my works. It would be an exaggeration, perhaps, to say that this fellow's efforts have been crowned with any great success, but he deserves, I think, some acknowledgement for the enterprise. An A for effort, perhaps, if only a D for actual quality of the content. I give a link to this channel in the description to this video. I have lately been trying to maintain a fruitful dialogue with this individual in the comments on his videos, although his responses do tend to be a little incoherent and woolly. I've been looking at his real life too, and it appears that the crux of his grievance is that he is married to a Polish woman and therefore takes it amiss when I say anything about people who are not born in this country. He's very careful to avoid using his real name and image, or indeed his own voice on the videos, so I shall preserve the anonymity which he is so careful to maintain. It's quite funny to hear oneself being talked about by a disembodied and electronically synthesized voice, a bit like being denounced by a Dalek. He's skating on very thin ice with some of what he says on this channel. Not, I hasten to add, in connection with stuff about me. It's nothing to me if people wish to call me a vile racist. What he is doing, though, is talking about ongoing court cases and legal processes and claiming that people who have only yet been charged or are currently on trial are definitely guilty of the offences with which they've been charged. For example, he refers in a comment to an estate agent decapitating the pensioner lady in London. That trial is live, and without giving details, the estate agent in the case has pleaded not guilty to the charge. To suggest that she is guilty in this way is a clear breach of the sub judice rules. He's made a video too about the case of the little girl who was shot in Liverpool, doing just the same thing, naming somebody, publishing the photograph and claiming that he is guilty of the crime. I seem to recollect that back in 1949, the then editor of the Daily Mirror was sent to prison for contempt of court for publishing precisely this kind of prejudicial material relating to Haig, the so-called acid bath killer. The Daily Mirror editor, I don't recollect his name offhand, actually spent 3 months in prison for that. The man who runs this channel is one of those who complains about me to YouTube each day with accusations of racism and xenophobia, or possibly both. To this end, he puts together carefully edited compilations of short passages from my videos, artfully cut in such a way as to give a wholly false impression. I will give one example from his latest video, which viewers might enjoy. It begins with a clip of my saying, "All these types of homicides are usually carried out by foreigners, immigrants, or those from immigrant families." Of course, the first question we ask, because this clip has been taken out of context, we're not able to see the whole thing, is what types of homicides? I say these types of homicides. What sorts of homicides am I speaking about? What was I talking about? But then a new clip immediately begins. He's just put that bit in because I mentioned foreigners and immigrants, and he wishes to make me appear to be a racist. In fact, it's taken from a video on this channel in which I discuss the fact that historically murders in Britain have been committed inside buildings and that the victims have almost invariably been known to the killers. In other words, the history of murder in Britain has usually been one of domestic crimes. I went on to say that the trend in Britain today for murders committed out in the open air, in the streets and so on, has been imported from abroad. This should hardly surprise us. Different ethnicities and nationalities often have different traditions relating to all sorts of things, such as food and drink, religious practices, clothing, language, sexuality, family structure, and so on. Why wouldn't they have different traditions when it came to the location of homicides and the nature of the victims of those killings, or indeed the method used in the murders? By leaving out that vital preliminary explanation, though, the person running the channel, to which I give a link, has sought to portray me as a rabid xenophobe. As I say, it's strangely flattering to know that somebody dislikes me so ardently that he's running a channel devoted entirely to criticising me. I only hope that he does not himself fall foul of YouTube for making prejudicial comments about criminal cases which are still subject to the sub judice rules. This would be a shame, for I gained a great deal of innocent amusement from visiting this channel and trying to persuade the man to see the error of his ways.